I feel like we have to start with the question, what is the metaverse? Do tell us.
Sure. I think you actually did a great job of teeing that up. The best way to think about it is a quasi successor state to today's mobile internet, in much the same way today's mobile internet built off of the internet of the 90s and 2000s. In this instance, however, the iteration is not necessarily going into a smaller computer, but into virtual worlds, virtual simulations, enabling the purchase of things in the real world through those environments, but also in particular purchasing things that solely exist in said virtual environments. Lastly, we think about the augmentation of the world around us, not just the idea of AR and VR inside of a store, but really the connectivity of the real world through Internet of Things into virtual simulacra at the same time.
Now, you worked in the entertainment industry for many years. You worked at Amazon Studios. So I'm curious, how do you see the metaverse replacing traditional forms of entertainment? Like, how does this actually change our lives?
That's a great question. It is, like most new mediums or entertainment formats, something that is at first additive or adjunct to our existing behaviors and then slowly subsumes more of that. In much the same way we started listening to radio broadcast.com in the 90s. But at this point in time, there are whole generations that primarily consume categories of media through the internet and through their mobile phones. We've seen some early examples of what's happened here when you take a look at the Travis Scott concert in Fortnite, the Lil Nas X concert in Roblox. Now we're seeing people purchasing music in these virtual worlds, attending just political rallies and more. And so the overall trend is just, you can think of many of the habits that we have today transitioning to said world. Zwift, for example, a privately backed startup, I believe KKR is one of the largest investors, you can think of as a version of Peloton that exists solely in virtual environments.
So Bloomberg Intelligence believes the market opportunity for the metaverse could be $800 billion by 2024. Obviously, now you can invest in it through your ETF. Who do you think are the leading players in this space from a platform perspective, and who will be the leading players?
Certainly, we can identify a number of companies already that are public. Those include Unity Technologies, which is one of the largest cross-platform companies in the world when it comes to game engines and real-time rendering. Think of the technology that allows virtual environments across any device, any endpoint to actually be brought to life. But on top of that, we have a number of other companies that are part of that stack. You have companies like NVIDIA or TSMC, Broadcom, the various wireless tower companies. We have to think about this like we do the internet. There are some of the end consumer platforms where I think primarily the BI estimate of 800 billion is organized. But we have to think all the way down to the companies that produce the hardware we use to access the metaverse, the compute chips that power those experiences, the networking companies that need to deliver this at ever increasing bandwidth and latency and reliability, all the way down to the content companies like your Netflixes and Tinders who have to find a way to exist in this new environment. That total TAM is expected to be in the trillions.
Wow. Curious how you see the worlds of DeFi and the metaverse potentially converging, given, obviously this is another technology that some folks are really bullish on, and I imagine there's some intersection of those in this future world.
Certainly. I mean, for a very large contingent of the crypto population, blockchain is synonymous with the metaverse. Cannot believe that the metaverse can or would exist without decentralized finance, blockchain technology. I tend to believe that it's not a strict requirement. All of the things that blockchain does can be done through other means. The question is it a superior way of doing said things, or is it the likely way to which we do that? The best technology standards don't necessarily win. We can take a look at VHS versus Betamax. But at this point, the blockchain enthusiasts see a lot of really credible arguments here. One of the reasons why Epic Games has sued Apple is on the premise that this stage of progressive taxation through distribution actually strangles the for-profit developers who would build the metaverse. Think of the individual Roblox creator who has to pay both Roblox and Apple to the point in which there's very little left over. And so the crypto community believes that this is a way to build outside of the platforms, outside of the gatekeepers, to own collectively the technology through which they will build the metaverse and avoid the gatekeepers who control their technology choices, but in particular take most of the cut. That's a strong argument in abstraction. It will take some time to see whether or not it pans out versus today's super powerful, well-funded R&D based corporations.